I'm Claude Robinson over at Google Cloud. I am leading our data analytics partner marketing organization. And today I have some very special guests. I have Jaime Donna from Neo4j, Andrew Davidson from MongoDB, and our special customer, Trevor Marshall from Current, a fintech provider in the US. Welcome, gentlemen. Can you introduce yourselves? Jaime, we'll start with you first.
Thank you so much, Claude. Yes, my name is Jaime Donna. I am the head of partner marketing at Neo4j, supporting all of the go-to-market efforts for our partner ecosystem.
Welcome. Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, I'm Andrew Davidson, SVP of products here at MongoDB. I've been at the company over 9 years. I'm based in New York City.
And Trevor, what about yourself?
I'm Chief Technology Officer and co-founder here at Current, and I've been living in New York my whole life.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Love for our two partners to kind of give an introduction of their company. Jaime, tell me a little bit about Neo4j, kind of what you guys are doing. I know we've been partnered with you for a while.
Absolutely. So Neo4j is the recognized leader in graph technology. And it's not just me saying this. This is according to Forrester's Wave, DB Engines, number of other sources. So when you ask what is graph technology is a NoSQL technology that stores data as nodes and relationships. And that's as opposed to tables and documents. So what that means is that you can then do further analysis and graphically display that data representationally for deep data dives, data science, additional functionality, and gain instant insight.
Thank you, Jaime. And Andrew, we've been partners with MongoDB as well for a while. I was at your show this couple months ago, hanging out with some customers. Tell me a little bit about your company.
Totally. Yeah, I was excited at that show. We just hit our 5-year anniversary of MongoDB Atlas on Google Cloud, and it really has been a wonderful partnership. So MongoDB Atlas, which is the center of our business gravity today, we conceptualize it as the industry-leading developer data platform for building modern applications. We've got over 35,000 customers, from small to medium-sized businesses all the way up to some of the largest, most sophisticated mission-critical workloads in the world, and over 150,000 signups every month.
Thank you, Andrew. And Trevor, both when I reached out to Andrew and to Jaime looking for a customer, they both threw out Current, spent some time on your website. Tell me a little bit about your company, what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited I was invited by these two great partners. Current is a financial technology company. We build banking services for millions of users here in the US. We're based in New York and we're hiring. So if you are interested in working in the industry based on what I have to say today, I'd love to hear from you, or check out our careers page on current.com.
Thank you, Trevor. So Jaime, Andrew, we're out talking to customers. Data is one of those one of those key things everybody's looking at. Provides customer insight if you're a retailer or if you're looking to drive better kind of supply chain as a manufacturer. Again, customers are going through this kind of digital transformation role. Like, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing customers facing, Jaime, when we're out there talking to them about data?
Right. Well, let's start with the trends first. So we've seen that organizations have been moving from a very process-driven paradigm into what we call data-driven, meaning relying heavily on the most highest quality and most real-time data possible to make intelligent decisions. From that, we've seen a more context-driven economy, meaning relying on technologies such as artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning. So the three challenges that come with that shift are the high volumes of data, what we call oftentimes a data tsunami, which results in complex data originating from multiple data sources. So that's the top. Another challenge that we've seen is the ability to identify and optimize manual or error-prone disconnected processes. In other words, being able to identify if John Smith in one system is the same John R. Smith in another system because both were input manually. So the ability to conduct digital transformation, in other words, to optimize these processes. And we've seen that, according to IDC, as a matter of fact, 70% of organizations will have budgeted some type of digital transformation project in 2023. So the third challenge that we've really seen is this very tech-savvy user base that is a result of the quote-unquote COVID economy, meaning if you look at any of the apps on your smartphone, that's really the bar at all the other applications are being judged by. And Google actually conducts a latency survey that says if an application takes longer than 2 seconds to load, 87% of users will drop So no users, no user insight, right? You're not getting that information. So that would be the third, the third challenge is that need for user engagement and insights.
Thanks, Jaime. Andrew, what about you? When you're out talking to customers, what are you seeing or hearing?
Yeah, I think our take on data is slightly nuanced, where it's almost like one layer up from the data. It's the applications, the software where the data is born. We like to think about the software developers, the builders of those applications. And we always want to think about those people being the artisans of our new economy. They're making it possible for companies to truly operate as software companies, companies more like, say, a Google, such a great example. And if you look at how this trend has played out over time, many companies still struggle today because their data is anchored at its core on a 1970s legacy relational database model. And what we've seen is when that is the case, people start basically breaking beyond the seams of what a relational database can do. For scalability requirements, maybe they'll bolt on a key value store. For flexibility, maybe they'll bolt on something else. In order to get richer search experiences, maybe they'll bolt on a search engine and bring it all together, making it fast with a caching layer. And all of a sudden, they fracture their developer experience across 4 different engines, and it's very brittle. And so what we've realized is developers are spending all this time working around the data, dealing with all this plumbing, and that's a huge tax on their innovation. So our core thesis has been, let's flip it on its head. Let's come in with a superset data model, the document model. And let's make it possible to drive the superset of workload shapes or types behind the scenes, behind that magic endpoint in the cloud, starting with operational, transactional, the mission critical use cases we all think of, and expanding beyond that into search powered use cases and application driven use cases with rich aggregations. We've realized that when you can do all of that in a single system, a single developer API, a single technology to learn, without the operational overhead of platform engineering teams having to become experts in so many different systems, that's where the business value really comes from continuously operating again as a software company.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, you guys, when I'm out talking to customers, I hear the same thing. They've chosen your technology because, again, you guys have focused on providing value as they're developing applications, getting access to their data. We have Trevor here. Trevor was one of those developers and started a company, kind of said, hey, I need a technology that allowed me to go, drive a better experience for my customers. So Trevor, at Current, I know it's not about digital transformation because you guys were born in the cloud, you guys were a digital native. When it came to choosing technologies, what was the outcome and goal that you guys were trying to accomplish?
Yeah, first of all, artisan, absolutely. I love it, making me feel warm and fuzzy, Andrew, appreciate it. When you think about financial technology, the consistency and reliability are absolute primitives. You can't get away from that in a financial system where money is what's at stake. When you start transforming that into millions of users and explosive use cases in terms of the level and the surface of interaction, you have to think about scalability. And then the additional value that we've got in particular, and it's something that is similar between both MongoDB and Neo4j, you need flexibility in your ability to evolve your product. And I think that's something that ties those two pieces of technology together. It's something that we've leveraged heavily in our own core banking engine, which we've built with both of these technologies. And it's the fact that we're building product today that we could not have thought of 7 years ago when we started the company, or 5 years ago when we made a lot of the transformation onto GCP, onto the hosted solutions with these partners. And in particular, in the way that we construct our user graphs, so the financial graph of the different components of our system, and the way that we enter and traverse through those graphs to understand relationships and the ability to access funds or different settings on an account. And then the way that we construct our ledger, which is what we build out on MongoDB, new types of transaction use cases, new types of financial funds movements that are fundamentally different than they were even a year ago. So the flexibility is something that if you embed it early on in your development, in the way that you think about building product, you can create a lifetime differentiation ability, which is very different than the way that traditional financial platforms and institutions are built.
And I know, Trevor, for you guys at Current, it was really around cloud maturity as you kind of, progressed along with Google Cloud and MongoDB and Neo4j. What were some of those kind of technical or business beneficial outcomes that you got as a digital native solution, leveraging, building that platform on top of Google Cloud?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really started with the way that we build from an engineering perspective. So our full SDLC. I think in particular, there's certain components and best-in-class products that Google has that makes building and deploying applications a lot easier than it certainly was 10 years ago, and of course, 20 years ago for sure. But things like Google Kubernetes engine is one of the things that we leverage heavily. We don't have a large SRE team. We don't have a large DevOps team. We're able to get applications out, define that infrastructure as code. And then future optimizations of the sort of like best-in-class products that Google has, like PubSub for asynchronous workflows, allows us to design our systems in ways that avoids traditional bottlenecks in performance that exist in more traditionally built stacks. So yeah, we're leveraging a lot of what Google has to offer and MongoDB and Neo4j through that.
And earlier on, we heard from Andrew and from Jaime kind of about what they bring to the table to their customers, challenges their customers were facing. What were some of the business and technical benefits that you basically gained from implementing MongoDB and Neo4j at Current?
So I think I started touching on it in sort of the last section. But really, when we think about our Neo4j use case, it's about financial householding and building out the financial graph for our users. And the flexibility that I talked about before is really the driving force in what makes our Neo4j implementation so successful. So as we add new types of entities to the graph, so for example, say we launch a new type of card product, we can connect that into a user's graph and still get the sub-millisecond traversals into pieces of information that we need without having to reconstruct all sorts of cached views, which might suffer from consistency issues. On the MongoDB side, our primary use case is actually the documents behind our event source ledger. And this drives balance, which is really the primary product. When you open up your current app and you see $100, that's fundamentally our product. And the way you get to that $100 are all the debits and credits, either using your debit card, getting a paycheck, all of these things accumulate. And what we've been able to do is with that document model, we can build new types of flows, new types of transactions, and have it integrate seamlessly with everything that existed before. So that type of flexibility just drives a ton of product innovation for us.
Thanks, Trevor. And Jaime, kind of building on that, what benefits are you seeing customers achieve leveraging your solution on Google Cloud?
Yeah, so I would say on the business side, it's definitely that innovation that Trevor just mentioned, and that can only be accomplished through the tight relationship that Neo4j has with Google Cloud. Just kind of jumping to the next step of the technical side, Google doesn't have a graph technology as part of their stack. So being a fully integrated service with the Google stack allows us to complement that and ultimately pass that along to the customer so that they can integrate with other Google services like Vertex AI, BigQuery, et cetera.
And Andrew, what about on the MongoDB side? What are you seeing or hearing from customers in terms of the benefits of your solution on Google Cloud?
Yeah, I mean, certainly just in terms of relationships, I think we all have a similarly customer-obsessed mindset, which is so important. I mean, every step of the way, customers are betting on our ability to keep innovating and be there when they need us to be there. And I think, that trust that we earn with them and that Google's done the same with our joint customers is so wonderful to see. When I think about the technology and kind of the synergies, there's so many of them. I mentioned before that we think a lot about every level of usage, from the prototyping, solo developer, startup, all the way up to some of the largest workloads in the world. And I think Google is such a perfect match for that. When I think about the application tier abstractions like Google Cloud Run, and then those being able to scale into lower levels of abstraction like GKE that Trevor was mentioning, and then being able to take advantage of the broader data lifecycle in Vertex AI and BigQuery, as Jaime mentioned. I think it's all there, and this allows you to continuously evolve your business and get the full value of the life cycle.
And Trevor, we take that kind of like you've taken this stack, you've deployed MongoDB, Neo4j on Google Cloud. You've been running this solution now for a couple of years. What was your aha moment once this thing was up and running, where you said, "Oh my God, this is why I did this. This is why I built this"?
Yeah, absolutely. There was the early aha moments are very much engineering specific. For example, we came from another cloud provider, and once we came onto Google Cloud, the sort of networking speeds and latency was so vastly superior. And it's something that I tell folks who are considering transitions to actually go and test out for themselves. And the way that in particular MongoDB and the VPC peering that's enabled on GCP, it's surprising, like shockingly easy to get set up, and it's incredibly reliable. But the real aha moments are not, the feelings of satisfaction I get by looking at latency metrics. It's really how all of the platform has come together to deliver improved financial outcomes for our members. So as we're releasing products and as we're leveraging the product flexibility in particular that's enabled by these solutions, seeing the pieces come together, and as we release things like our high yield savings product, seeing that be something that our core banking users are adopting, loving, giving us sort of positive feedback, retaining better. That's really the continuous aha moment that we experience with this platform.
Thank you, Trevor. Andrew, Jaime, if I look at, we're out talking to customers, Andrew, what is the one recommendation would you give to an enterprise today as they're looking to kind of transform their business and kind of leverage their data?
Yeah, again, it's not just about leveraging the data. It starts one step before that. It's about, are you building in a way that enables you to, as quickly as possible, continue to improve and evolve your business? Just like Trevor was saying, those continuous aha moments. To do that, you need to be built on an intuitive, unified data model, a true developer data platform in the cloud.
And Jaime, what about from your side when you're out talking to customers? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say two parts. Number one, identify what that business critical information is within that system of record. Start there, because you're going to find a number of different systems with competing information, going back to that John Smith versus John R. Smith example. So the system of record will help you identify what the relationships are and what is the quote unquote point of truth in your system. Secondly, I would say, you really want to start with a future-proof architecture, meaning something that will scale with your enterprise. Again, back to current. When we first initially tried to resolve their use case of a new customer acquisition, a new account creation, they wanted a system that would quickly identify all the relationships specifically for minors that wanted to open an account. They started with our virtual instance of Neo4j Enterprise Edition because our native cloud instance, DB, did not have specific functionality they needed. However, down the line, they were able to graduate to DB because we, according to our roadmap, presented that we would have this functionality. So again, a future-proof architecture that allows your entirety, your ecosystem through your partner network to grow with you.
And quickly in closing, I know again, both your solutions are a marketplace, developers can go take advantage of those. Trevor, as a developer, what would you tell someone who's just getting started today in terms of grabbing these off a marketplace?
Yeah, I think GCP Marketplace is one of the best innovations on GCP. That's not a technical one. It's just really the way that they've approached offering services through the platform. It's allowed us to capture a lot of economic efficiencies as well as a lot of plug and play ability that, if you're getting it through Marketplace, it's going to kind of work out of the box. So I would definitely encourage folks to explore that route for when you're looking at acquiring software.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, gentlemen. Andrew, Jaime, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and look forward to talking to you both again.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.